Okay, so it's now time to go ahead and start learning how to code. Now that we've kind of talked about how websites work and we've talked about how HTML looks, it's time to throw some in here. So let's go ahead and talk about the two different coding types that we're going to focus on. HTML is hypertext markup language. This is where you're going to put the base structure of your website. It's the most important part because if you don't have things that actually appear for your user, then they can't see anything. And everything you want to appear for your user, whether that's text, images, links, videos, whatever it is, that's going to show up in your HTML section. Then when you're all done creating the base structure, you then get to go and add some style, make it look pretty, give it some design, add some background, heights, widths, all those kinds of things inside of your CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheet, where you get to put styles in. The last coding language you're going to see in CodePen is JS or JavaScript. This is where you can add interactivity. So imagine websites where, like, when you click a button, something else happens on your screen. That's interactivity for your website. At this point in this class, we're not going to learn JavaScript because that's a whole nother coding language, but we will cover the basics of JavaScript inside Digital Design 2 if you're interested in them. So because all three show up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor in between the CSS and JS. Now, your screen may have these across the top. That's because I'm under Change View. So if you go to Change View here, you can change which editor layout you are in, putting this across the top, across the right side, or across the left side, whatever works best for you. I'm going to go ahead and go click between CSS and JS, and I'm going to click and drag to collapse my JS and recenter my HTML and CSS so you can see it. I also suggest, and I'm going to keep saying it, but that you should be watching these videos on a second screen or on a second device if you can. I'm pretty zoomed in here, and you can always pinch videos if you need to zoom in on them, but I want to make sure that you're able to do this and follow along at the same time so you can watch the video and code with me. It's really, really important that you're coding with me. I'm not expecting you to just watch these videos and do nothing. So please open up a CodePen, do all the work, and code with me so that way you can learn how to create a website. So we started with hello world. Now this is great. You can put text out here. What I want to say is that at the end of this, let's go ahead and type a spacebar and we'll put this is, and then we'll put our name. So that way you can say, like, hello world, this is Leah, or hello world, this is, Georgie, whatever your name is. Okay. So you have that occur, but what I want to also show you about the world of coding is that it's really important to remember that the computer is reading whatever code and text it's getting, and it is assessing it and translating it through your web browser, whether that's Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Safari, whatever your web browser is. And then it's showing us the result over here. So this is what's occurring. It's reading our code over here, which in this case we have no code, we just have text, and it's displaying it over here on the web page. When we click before the word this and delete the space, and then move it, change it to an enter, so we hit enter on our keyboard, normally what would occur in our beautiful world of, like, writing a document or doing those types of things is it would move to the next line. Well, in the world of HTML and CSS, the computer doesn't care about enters. It doesn't read them the same way, because when we code, we want things to look clean. So the beauty of coding is that the enters don't actually mean anything, but they are useful for you to keep your code clean. So you can see here that nothing has occurred and it looks pretty much the same. And actually, it even put a space in there. If I wanted to create a blank line in between these, I would have to then insert some code to tell the computer I want a blank line here. So I'm going to click at the end of hello world, and I'm going to add a blank line. And we're going to do this with our first HTML ever. And I think what's important to note is that I'm not just making up words or codes. These are all standardized codes that are created and readable by all web browsers. So for all web browsers like Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, for all of them to work, they all have to read the same language, which means that the codes have to be consistent. So you can't just make up your own codes. So what we're going to do is we're going to use what's called a break tag. Now, what you'll find in a lot of HTML and CSS is a lot of stuff is shortened or abbreviated, and there's no rhyme or reason to why it's abbreviated the way it is, but you can look up any tag you possibly wanted to online. So for instance, I could open up a new tab here and I could type break tag HTML, and you're going to see that I see a bunch of break tags. And it says the HTML open bracket, BR close bracket element produces a line break in text. And you can see that some of them have a slash at the end of them as well. And that's actually proper coding technique to put a slash there. So we're going to go ahead and do an open caret or a less than symbol, BR slash forward slash, and then close caret or greater than symbol. That's going to do a break. Now, nothing occurs, or sorry, something does occur, sorry. Yes, we now have broken to the next line. You can see they're not in the same line anymore. So we've just created our first HTML here, and I know that was just like the most exciting thing you've ever done, right? But you did actually produce something with your own piece of code, and the computer read it as, okay, when I reach this tag, I need to do a line break. So I'm going to line break between these two pieces of text. And that's your first code ever. Note the syntax. We started with a bracket and we closed with a bracket. There's actually a lot more syntax than that, but it's a lot like how when you write a sentence, you end it with a piece of punctuation. Those are rules and syntaxes of how we write in English. So that's the same thing for HTML, where we have rules and syntaxes of how we write to tags. Don't forget to save this. I know, one little big save because you've done so much. And we'll continue in the next video.